right, today's Sunday, October 2nd, 2022. It's about 4 o'clock. And I just got this drivetrain set up a couple hours ago. So right now it's sitting just on a transmission pan on a sawhorse. I actually have a more shallow pan, so this pan is going to stay on while I'm spraying. I got it hooked up to some chains on the roof, and they're kind of pushing to the limit right now, but I'm going to leave it setting. Right now it's also suspended on the engine hoist, but no slack on that. So I got all the slack on the small chain, and as a backup I got the sawhorse. So I'm going to let it sit like this overnight, see if the chains break, but I don't think they will. It's been like this a couple hours. So far what I've done is I just went over it with some wax and grease remover and got the heavy stuff off. I need to buy the tool to get this fuel line off, get it out the way. I don't think I'm going to take the injectors out. I've been reading up and I don't want to damage them, and there's nothing wrong with them, so I think I'm just going to mask. Then I'm going to scuff this whole thing down, hit it with some epoxy. I'm going to go buy some base coat tomorrow on Monday, and hopefully get this thing painted here in the next week. It's really not that bad as far as dirty. It has some oxidation on it, I guess because it's aluminum, but it wipes right off. It's cast aluminum. So the serpentine kit should be here in a couple days. So I really want to get this thing painted, get it on the chassis, and then start putting it together. Order the serpentine kit, order some headers, order the vacuum block off there. And I really don't know a whole lot about this motor, but I got a good friend that does. So he's going to kind of walk me through what I need to do to get this thing running. But it is a complete pullout. It's a 5.3 L83 out of a truck with a two-wheel drive transmission, 6L80, I believe. So most of today's project was digging it out. It's been sitting in the corner for months under a blanket. So I got it rigged up, let it sit overnight, see what happens. Hopefully I don't come in the morning and the thing is on the ground, but I think I got plenty of backup with the sawhorse and the engine hoist. So anyways, bring you guys back tomorrow once I start prepping it. All right, today's Monday, October 3rd, 2022. It's about 5 p.m. and I just finished up getting this drivetrain all cleaned up and masked off. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that dirty, honestly. It's dusty more than anything. So I didn't mess with the fuel rails up top because I didn't want to damage them. Plus, when the intake is on, the whole thing is covered up. So I didn't want to take them out, so I just masked them up. But everything else got masked up. I did break the PCV valve. The chain broke it, so I had to order a new one of those. So this thing's going to be color matched. I just mixed up about 8 ounces of epoxy. I'm going to go full strength, 4 and 4. I'm going to get this thing coated, at least one full coat, and then come back tomorrow with the base coat. I did pick up the base coat today. I'm going to base coat clear it tomorrow about the same time. So I did get the pulley kit that showed up today, so that's good. Hopefully we get this thing set on the roller pretty soon here. So the process to clean this was I just used some oven cleaner from Walmart and sprayed the whole thing, rinsed it all off. Then I went back with mineral spirits, rinsed it all off, and then I went back with just soap and water, rinsed it off, and then wax and grease remover. So in the process with the oven cleaner and the mineral spirits, I did use a red Scotch Brite. And then final was just the wax and grease remover after I masked it. That's it. So, guess I'll bring you guys back. I did take the oil pan off. So right now this thing's kind of suspended from the ceiling, and as a backup I have it suspended from the hoist. I'm not concerned about the transmission pan because I got a new one, but I did take the oil pan off. So I'm not too worried about masking the crank and all that because I'm not going to be spraying underneath. So probably get a little bit of overspray on it, but I don't think it's going to damage it. So, enough talking. Let me get to spraying. I'll bring you guys back once it's coated. All right, so here we are, 8 ounces later of the SPI gray epoxy. No weird reactions, covered pretty good. Not too heavy. Don't want too much buildup. Honestly, I don't know how much of this you actually see. I don't think you even see that if you run the covers with the pulley kit. You really don't see a lot of it, but you'll see little accents here and there. So, just masked off the fuel rails. Like I said, I didn't want to take those off. Don't want to get in over my head. So that's going to do it for today. I'll come back tomorrow, about 24 hours, and go straight to base coat. No sanding. Don't even got to touch it. And I'm thinking two coats, hopefully, and then we go to clear and moving right along. So bring you guys back tomorrow. All right, so here we are the next day. It's been about 24 hours. It's almost 5 p.m. I got the base coat mixed up, so went with a Lonestar brand. Bought a pint and some reducer. This is the color. It's 1960 Cascade Green. A little darker than the Laurel Green. But all I did was just pour it in a glass jar just for storage purposes. So I don't have a bunch of cans everywhere, because I did have a can from the sample, and then I had a can that I actually bought. So all I'm gonna do now is just go straight to 2 coats, straight to base coat. No prep needed, because the epoxy's still within the recoat window. I'm gonna spray with the iWater 1.3 orange cap. Even though this is a metallic, I might switch to the purple cap. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Yeah, pretty simple. I think I'm just gonna go 2 coats. I don't think there's gonna be a need for 3. I've been watching some videos today, and a lot of this stuff is not even seen. None of the intake is even seen on this motor. This is my first time doing this, so I wasn't sure on what all is seen and what's not, and majority of it is not. Nothing behind the timing, nothing behind the water pump is even seen hardly. So just a little small accents here and there, but I'm just gonna give it 2 full coats, let it flash for about an hour, come back and clear it. So bring you guys back once I get the first coat. All right, here we are 2 coats later. The Lonestar covered extremely well. I mean, we used Lonestar on the yellow 68, and we used Lonestar on the blue Lincoln Town Car Coupe 2-door. And man, it's good stuff. Mixes 2 to 1, but I mean, really, this stuff covered in 1 coat. But I went ahead and put another. Kind of tricky to get all these areas around the valve covers, so kind of just dusted it on the first round. But yeah. Oh, like I say, I just masked off all the fuel rails and stuff. I didn't want to get into all that. So, this is going to be the color of the car. I might two-tone the stripe. I haven't thought that far ahead yet, but now I'm just going to go back and clear it, probably give it 2 rounds. I'm going to be using universal clear, which is kind of overkill for the job, but everybody said I can have it. Appreciate it. So, I'm going to give it about another 30 minutes to flash off. I kind of want to get it cleared and closed up before the mosquitoes wake up. It's about 5:30 now. So, bring you guys back once I get it coated. All right, so here we are 2 coats later. Really isn't a whole lot to show. I definitely got everything coated. It's kind of hard to determine the loss level because it is cast, so the metallics kind of landed wherever they were going to land, but overall it's coated. It's 2 coats, so I'm going to let this thing sit overnight. Probably come in tomorrow and at least get this thing on the floor where I ain't got to worry about it falling off the hoist. But yeah, so next up is, like I say, get it down from here, get the oil pan on first, get it down from here, let it sit till I can get another person to help me set it on the frame. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Bring you guys back once I start putting the pulley kit on. All right, here we are. It's Friday. It's about 5 in the evening. And I got this thing safely down from the ceiling the other day, from the from the little paint room. The thing was nerve-wracking to say the least. We got it secured on the hoist and over here in the shop. Gonna attempt to set this thing on the frame by myself here. I did change out the transmission pan for a more shallow pan. Got it on Amazon, I believe. Came with the gasket. Also has a drain plug, which is great. Not that you ever really need to drain the transmission fluid on a car like this, but it's good to have. The original GM one didn't have it, so a little messy getting it off. Got the oil pan back on. Got those bolts torqued down to 18 pounds is what they recommend. It doesn't use a gasket. It uses just RTV. I got the sliders on. Both sides. The little transmission pan from Amazon did come with a rear mount, but I don't think I'm going to use it because the original mount looks fine. It's the same thing, and for some reason the rear mount, it seems like the threads are stripped on the bolt sticking out of it. So instead of opening up a can of worms with trying to do that, I'm just gonna leave the stock one on. Nothing wrong with it. I believe this thing had like 30 or 40,000 miles on it, so it's got plenty of life. So I was gonna wait till tomorrow to try to do this when I have some help here, but I ain't got nothing else going on right now. So all I'm gonna do is set it on there and see what happens. So I'll bring you guys back once it's set. All right, here we are, about 3 hours later. It did fall in place the first time. It fell in place the first time surprisingly pretty well. Now, anybody watches the channel, I test fit this thing before I did anything to the frame. After reinforcing, I test fit the motor and transmission as a whole, and I put the motor mounts. We put the motor mounts on the frame. They're welded to the frame where they needed to be. So it did go right back in place. I had to get the thing up on blocks to get the hoist arms up under the lower control arms because it was going to hit them. So I had it all, it fell in place. I had it all bolted in. Everything was good. And then I said, well, I'm going to start putting on my accessories for it, starting with the vacuum pump delete plate. And I didn't realize that it was directly behind the slider. So it wasn't going to work. So the other alternative is to run those delete plugs, which is an option that'll work. But I did mask that off, so there's no paint where that billet cover goes. So kind of defeat the whole purpose of painting it if you have this bare area right there. So I called AutoZone, I called O'Reilly, called Napa, asked them for the vacuum pump delete plugs for a 2018 5.3. They had no idea what I was talking about. So I'm sitting here wondering what I'm going to do. So I had to pull the motor back up, and basically I had to trim the aluminum mount till it cleared, and then I also had to shave the bolt head down. Oh, shit. Close fit, but it's square up against the block, and it's on. I doubt I ever have to take it off. Hopefully it don't leak no oil. It did come with an O-ring that works on there. So outside of that, everything fell in place. I did go ahead and put the transmission mount. That's a metric bolt or a metric thread, and I don't have any nuts for that, so I'll have to buy one. But I went ahead and put the mount on. I said I wasn't, but I did because I paid for it. So it's in. It's square. Drive shaft looks like it's going to go right through the tunnel, no problem. The transmission mount's holding up. So far, so good. So this thing's going to sit until Sunday. I think tomorrow we're going to work on the 68, and then Sunday I plan to put the CVF pulley kit. I did get some headers. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do for intake. I do have a car intake, but I kind of like the LS3 intakes. So we'll see. But that's the color of the car. It's definitely green. So I guess I'll bring you guys back on Sunday when I start putting the kit on.